Should you rent a car here in Puerto Vallarta? In this video, we're going to talk about best options, pricing, and tips. So let's get started. Hola amigos, this is Vidi bringing you tips and things to do here in Puerto Vallarta and surrounding areas. So if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and like my video so you do not miss any of these awesome videos that I create every week where I hope you plan your trip to Puerto Vallarta. Now, I am going to be talking about your other options for transportation like Uber, taxi, and the bus briefly towards the end, but first we're going to get started with the car rental. So the question I get asked the most everywhere on my social media, everywhere from everyone, is if you should rent a vehicle here in Puerto Vallarta. My quick answer or my quick recommendation would be yes. If this is your first time coming here, I would recommend you to rent a vehicle if it's in your budget, just because there's so many things to do here. There's so many places to see, and you're going to be able to really see and be able to explore the whole city and surrounding areas much better in a car. This is actually what we did the first time that we came here. The second time we actually came here too. We had never been here before. We rented a car. We drove everywhere. We went to all the little towns surrounding Puerto Vallarta. We checked out the whole area, and this was very easy to do in a car. I do suggest, if you can, to rent a car, like I said. We'll talk about some pricing so you can kind of more or less have an idea. Of course, it all changes depending on your dates. If you're coming in the high season or, holidays, that can always vary. But yes, I do suggest you rent a car here. It's pretty safe. It's pretty safe to drive and easy. I wouldn't say it's super hard or anything. Puerto Vallarta is a very small town. All the other towns around are much smaller, so it's pretty easy to get around. You won't get lost or anything like that. You'll always see a bunch of tourists driving around, even foreigners that live here. They drive around. I drive here all around, so it's pretty safe. I recommend it. There are some things that I would like to let you guys know, all the ones that are looking to rent a vehicle, and that is that in Mexico, and this is not just in Puerto Vallarta, this is all Mexico, it doesn't matter where you're going. In Mexico, you must have a third-party insurance, or what sometimes is referred to personal liability insurance. Now, in Mexico, they don't recognize any other insurance that is purchased through a third-party platform like Expedia or any of those other travel, websites. They are not going to recognize that. They also don't recognize your U.S. insurance, car insurance. So basically, many people have had very bad experiences renting vehicles here in Mexico because they're not informed about those things that I just mentioned. Now my husband's gonna quickly explain our experience with car rentals before we knew all these rules in Mexico and the third-party insurance. He's gonna explain what happened so that this doesn't happen to you.
So the first time we came to Puerto Vallarta, when planning the trip, I went on to I don't remember if it was like Priceline or Orbitz or one of those websites, and I booked a rental car for Puerto Vallarta. I don't recall the name of the rental car company, but it was like $9 or $10 a day or something like that. And I think I got like a little bit of a better one. And basically, when I got to Vallarta, they came and picked us up from the airport with their little shuttle. And when we got to the rental car place with all our stuff and everything, they were trying to charge like an extra $40 or $50 a day for insurance. Now I have insurance, like rental car insurance, through my credit cards. And so I tried to tell them that I had that, but they would not take that. They said that wasn't acceptable and that the insurance was mandatory. So basically, we're there with all our luggage and everything, expecting to pay like $12 a day or something like that. I don't remember. And now it's going to be like an extra 40, $50 per day. So I ended up leaving after arguing with them for a long time, and going to get a rental car from someone else. When I walked into the other office, it was like next door. It was pretty much the same thing. And then I went to Sixth rental car, and they were the only ones that gave me like a real rate and everything. So I ended up renting with them, and it was a good experience. But basically, what I would watch out for is for any of these rental car companies where it looks like it's 9 to 15 or $20 a day. I actually had gotten the insurance, I think through Priceline or Orbitz or whatever, their little insurance that they add on for like $1 or whatever per day, and that was not any good. They wanted you to buy this other mandatory insurance, and so Sixt was the only one that I went to that I ended up renting from, where they were reasonable and everything. So basically, if you're going to rent a car in Mexico, you want to call directly and find out how much the mandatory insurance is, how much the total price is going to be, so that you don't get stuck with the surprise whenever you get to Vallarta or to wherever you're going. It's not so much about the money; it's just about getting upset and ruining your vacation because you feel like you've been cheated or tricked or whatever.
So now that we know how not to fall in these marketing tricks that these companies do, so that you want to click and reserve the car rental and then it's like a higher price. Now we're going to go into my tips, my most valuable tips that I have researched. I did so much research to give you these tips and what other people have said they've done that have helped them with their car rentals. My first tip is gonna be, many people have said to go straight directly through the website of the company. For example, if you want to rent with budget, if you want to rent with enterprise, to go straight to those websites and then make your reservation through there. They usually have that insurance fee included in their pricing. It might be a little bit higher. Okay, now again, just to double check, I would still call the company and ask them, are you including in this rate that I'm looking online the third party insurance that you require? Okay, that way you know for sure. Okay, another tip that I would like to suggest to y'all is instead of clicking whenever you do your Google search of car rental, instead of clicking, like I said, any of the travel websites like Expedia, Orbitz, I don't know, TripAdvisor, or anything like that, scroll more down to where it actually says like the local companies that are here in Puerto Vallarta and then what their ratings are. Once you see the ratings, you will see what people are honestly writing on them, if they were helpful, if they had problems with this, about them giving them one rate and then when they got there they gave them a different rate. That way you can see more or less which companies are more honest and more straightforward with their rates and which ones are not. I've done a lot of research, and some credit card companies cover this insurance, not all of them. So if you do have a credit card, make sure you call them and ask them, do you cover the third party insurance that they require for renting cars in Mexico? And if they do, they need to send you a form that they do provide that insurance. And then once you get here and you go to your car rental company, you're going to show them that letter. Okay, I know I've heard some people say that American Express does this and it works, that Mexico does accept that. I have never used American Express card, so I would not be able to confirm that. I'm just letting you know, just ask your company and then also call the car rental company that you're looking to rent a car and ask them if they are going to accept this credit card. And you can just say my American Express card or whatever, That way, there's no surprises when you get here to Puerto Vallarta. After making a thorough research, I did find a few companies that are highly recommended due to their ratings online or due to actual people letting me know this company is really good. They already put their rates on their pricing or etc. Right? I will talk about that right now. First of all, one of the companies that I recommend is Veico, Veico. When you search this company and you enter your days, you're going to see a higher price than most companies. Now be aware, this company has really good ratings, has great customer service, and they already include in their price the insurance, the insurance that you need to add. Oh, another tip that I got was that a lot of people were saying to go through some companies that are more local, in your area or in Mexico, not like the big name brand companies like, Hertz, Enterprise, all those. These more local companies or Mexican companies are the ones who are going to be more honest on their rates. They're already going to include that insurance in their rates, so no hidden fees or anything, and they have better customer service. So my second company I'm going to recommend is City Car Rental. Okay, if you look at it online, it has great reviews from people left and right. This is a local company, so I would recommend you can use that company. The third one is going to be Gecko. Actually, a lot of foreigners, people from Canada and people that come in the winter to stay here several months for long periods of time, have recommended this company, that they have great customer service, that their rates that they give you already include, again, the price of the insurance, and that it's great overall. My fourth company that I'm going to recommend is Sixt, which is actually a more of a bigger company throughout internationally, but this company has really, really good reviews. Actually, I think one of the second or third times that we came here before we actually moved to Puerto Vallarta, we actually went with this company and they were straightforward, gave us a rate, already included everything we needed, nothing hidden, nothing like that. Very easy transaction. If you go online, also on Google, they have really good reviews. So that's my last company that I will recommend. Now we're gonna start by talking about taxis and Ubers. Now, taxis and Ubers are available throughout the whole city and they're pretty much easy to get a hold of, especially taxis. They're always everywhere, especially where there's hotels and all the tourist areas. They're like readily available there if you're looking for one to get one. Obviously, taxis are always known to be or have a little bit of a higher fee more than an Uber. So I would recommend for you to use an Uber instead if you can. Now, just yesterday we went to the downtown area. It was already kind of late, like around 11 p.m. and we were trying to get an Uber to take us back to our car because we actually had walked very far. It said it was actually like a 12-minute drive to where we parked, and that was mainly because a lot of roads right now in downtown area are kind of closed off. So the taxis were right there right away. When we decided that we needed to go to head back, there was a lot of taxis where we were at, but we're like, no, an Uber's cheaper. And yes, it said it was cheaper. They were only going to charge us, I think, 45 pesos, which is about like $2, $2.50 maybe, for like a 10 to 12-minute drive. And the only thing is that I think because it was so late, there wasn't that many Ubers available in the area, and the Uber that was coming from far away. So it said we were gonna have to wait like about a 20-minute wait time, and we thought that was ridiculous. So we just got a taxi. Now the taxi did charge us 70 pesos, so it was like double the fee almost. I think because it was already too late, there was maybe not that many Ubers around, and also it depends where you're at, that the Ubers might not be that close by as a taxi would. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about just getting an Uber or taxi to get around. Also, a tip on Ubers and taxis. This is specifically more for taxis. If you're staying at a hotel, you can ask there at the front desk, or if they have a concierge, for you to ask them, hey, I need a taxi from here, from the hotel or whatever, to my final destination, wherever you're trying to go, and be like, what's the rate? That way you can have more or less an idea of how much they would charge you. And then if you have Uber, you can check and see if it's cheaper, which is usually it is going to be cheaper than the taxi. But also keep in mind, sometimes they might take longer. The taxi might just already be there waiting for you. So just keep that in mind. Now, for the Ubers and taxis, they're both are very safe options. Several times I have personally taken a taxi to go to Costco or to go to my house whenever my car was getting fixed, and I had no problem. I didn't feel like my life was in danger. Puerto Vallarta is a pretty safe city overall. Another thing I would like to add is if you're staying in the Nayarit side, if you're staying in Nuevo Vallarta, Sayulita, Punta de Mita, Cruz de Guanacaste, anything that's considered the other side. Vidanta is a big resort here, and it's actually on the Nayarit side, just on the border of Nayarit and Jalisco. Just keep in mind that if you get a taxi or even an Uber from that area to bring you to Puerto Vallarta, to downtown, to the romantic zone, anywhere in Puerto Vallarta, those taxis, those Ubers are going to be way more expensive, like 2 to 3 times more than a taxi in Puerto Vallarta, just because those taxis and those Ubers can cross, they can take you to your destination, to Puerto Vallarta. But then when they drop you off, let's say they drop you off downtown, they have to go back and cross Nayarit to get another, job over there, because they can't pick up someone there downtown and then take them to another place, and then they can head back to Nayarit. They can't do that. So just keep that in mind, because I know a lot of people like to stay on the Nayarit side because it's cheaper and they get better deals. But if you don't have a car, okay, if you did not rent a car and you're thinking about just getting an Uber or taxi to come over here, it's going to be more expensive. The same thing happens if you're in the airport and you're like, hey, I'm staying in the other side of Nayarit. I need to go to Punta de Mita, I need to go to Sayulita or any of that. It's going to be way more expensive, like 2 to 3 times. That's what the taxi driver told me. It's going to be 2 to 3 times more of what you would have paid if you stayed in Puerto Vallarta. So it's something to consider if you're planning to stay on the other side of Nayarit and you want to come over here, because let me tell you, a lot of the activities and things to do are in Puerto Vallarta. There's some things to do on the other side, but not that many things, okay? Just keep that in mind. Let me give you some examples real quick of some of the fees that the taxi driver told me that you could expect around Puerto Vallarta from the airport, because I always get asked is, how much is the taxi going to charge me from the airport to this hotel specifically? How much is this taxi going to charge me from this place? It's like, I don't know. I'm not a taxi driver. But yesterday I asked the taxi, so you could get more or less an idea of how much they charge. Like I said, ask your hotel, ask at the place. If you're actually staying at a hotel, ask them how much are they going to charge me. Also, when you're there at the airport, ask them. It's always going to be cheaper if you get the taxi or Uber crossing the bridge to the other side of the highway. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it down on the description, and you can watch that video so you can make a good and wise decision and save some money. So we already know the taxi is going to be a little bit higher than the Uber. Okay, the taxi told me it will charge around 130 pesos from the airport to the North Hotel Zone. Now, this is talking about a taxi you get the taxi crossing the bridge, not the ones that are right outside of the airport. Those are going to be way more expensive. Okay, so anybody who's staying at the hotel zone, like the Sunscape, the Secrets, what else is around there? I think there's a Hilton right there, in that area. Crystal or something like that. The Sheraton, all those hotels, they would be considered that hotel zone. So the taxi driver said it's about 130 pesos, which is like $6-7 US to get you from the airport or pick you up at the airport to the North Hotel Zone. Now, if they're picking you up from the airport, again, from the other side of the highway, crossing the bridge, and you're going somewhere around downtown or the romantic zone, he said that would be around 200 pesos. So that's like $10, 10 US dollars. So those are some examples, and just from there you can base yourself. Uber is going to be a little bit cheaper than those rates. Okay, and lastly, to talk about buses here in Puerto Vallarta. In general, they're pretty safe and easy to get around with. Buses are all over the place, and they can take you all over Puerto Vallarta, pretty much all the way to Boca de Tomatlan for the cheapest price of 10 pesos, which is like 50 cents US money. If you get a bus from Puerto Vallarta to the Nayarit side, whatever town you're trying to get to, they're gonna charge you 35 peso, which is equivalent like 125, 150, $1.25 to 150 US dollars. So it's still pretty reasonable. Obviously, this is the cheapest option if you're on a budget. It's real easy and safe. I'm not an expert on buses, but it is pretty easy to know which one you're getting. In the windshield of the buses, you will see they say Centro, which Centro means downtown, or if they're going to a specific city like Mismaloya or Boca de Tomatlan, that's where they would say. Like I said, I'm not a super expert on buses just because I drive around here. I have my own vehicle, so that's how I get around. I actually found a really good, interesting blog that explains to you different points and how to get which bus to different parts that are more most of the popular destinations around here in this area. So I'll link that blog down below. If you're interested, you can read it. It's really thorough and it explains real good, which bus to get and etc. The majority of the buses here in Puerto Vallarta have AC and they're like brand new. They just got brand new buses. I think just before the pandemic started. I think that's when they started getting a bunch of new buses. So yes, they have AC, so you don't have to worry about that too much. Also, another thing to note is most of the bus drivers do not speak fluently English, not even a little bit. So if you are concerned or you don't know where you're going or if this is the right bus, just make sure you have Google Translate so you can ask, is this the bus to go to, X destination or not, and they will tell you yes or no. Okay, just so that I mean, most taxis and Ubers do speak a little bit more English, bus drivers not really. So just so that you are aware about that. And that pretty much wraps all my information on transportation here in Puerto Vallarta, car rentals, buses, taxis, and Ubers. I really hope you found this video very informative and of value. If you did, hit the thumbs up and subscribe for all things Puerto Vallarta each and every week. I at least upload one video, if not two videos, of things to do. The next week is going to be my last video on this video series. We're going to talk about all the different activities to do, my top choices and other recommendations on activities. I will be uploading other things to do and tips in Puerto Vallarta, as well as a few personal blogs of just my daily life here in Puerto Vallarta if you're interested in that also. So there's plenty of content in this channel. I'm real excited about it. There's so much to do here in Puerto Vallarta, so my content's never gonna finish. There's just so much to cover and everything. So I hope you find value in my channel and you subscribe, and we'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.